'Tis the season, let's do it. Trick or Treat is an anthology that takes place in Warren Valley, Ohio on Halloween night, and all of the segments are told in a non-linear fashion but all connect in some way. And at the center of all of these stories is our friend Sam here, and Sam wants to make sure that everybody is respecting the traditions of Halloween. So in our first segment, we have this couple, Emma and Henry. They're returning home from a Halloween party. And we can tell that Emma very clearly fucking hates Halloween. Like, she's just miserable. She wants to take all of their decorations down immediately that night. And she makes the mistake of blowing out her jack-o'-lantern before midnight, which Henry tells her is against superstition. Emma doesn't give a fuck. She tells Henry to go inside. She's taking down all the decorations. She'll be in a little bit. But we can see as she's doing this, somebody is stalking her from the tree line. And as she is taking the decorations down, she is attacked and offed. And Henry comes out to find her corpse hung up with the Halloween decorations. In the next segment, we meet Charlie, who is going around just smashing jack-o'-lanterns, stealing candy. And he steals candy from the wrong doorstep because it turns out that this is Principal Wilkins and he comes home to catch Charlie in the act. So Steve Wilkins gives Charlie a chocolate bar that he eats and sits there with him and tells him all about the traditions and the history of Halloween. And all of a sudden, Charlie starts to choke. And Wilkins is like, oh yeah, there's one other tradition. Always check your candy. And it turns out he has poisoned the candy and Charlie dies. So Wilkins drags Charlie's body inside, and as he does, he's distracted by trick-or-treaters, one of which is little Sam. Eventually, he drags Charlie to the backyard and throws him in this pre-dug hole. But he first gets interrupted, first by his son Billy, yes, this man has a whole-ass child, and then by his old, miserable neighbor, Mr. Krieg, and his dog. As he's dragging Charlie in here, we see that there's already another body, and it's not fully dead, it comes to life. But Steve manages to off him before the neighbor or his son find out what's going on. As he's walking back inside, he sees Mr. Krieg in the window crying out for help. Steve just completely ignores him and goes back inside. When he gets inside, Billy asks if he's going to help him carve the jack-o'-lantern now because he needs help with the eyes. So Wilkins grabs a knife and takes Billy into the basement. He stands behind Billy, lifts the knife, and plunges it into something we don't see. We assume it to be Billy. But when the camera zooms out, we see that it was not Billy. It was Charlie's decapitated head. And that's their jack-o'-lantern that they're about to carve. In the next segment, we meet this group of teenagers that is trick-or-treating. So we have Macy, who's kind of like the ringleader, Schrader, Sarah, and Chip, and they're all collecting jack-o'-lanterns. But when they realize they don't have enough, they go to Rhonda's house. Now, Rhonda's kind of supposed to be like the nerdy outcast, and she very much respects the traditions of Halloween. It's all she fucking talks about. So Rhonda goes with the group to this quarry where Macy recounts the story of the Halloween school bus massacre. Years ago in this town, there were these 8 kids who were disabled and their parents became resentful and ashamed of them. So one day the parents got together and bribed their school bus driver to get rid of them. So the bus driver drives them to this quarry and we see that all the kids are shackled to their seats. And the bus driver goes through the row and distributes candy before he's about to throw this bus off the quarry. But before he's able to do that, one of the kids is able to slip out of his cuffs and get into the driver's seat. But instead of driving away, he accidentally goes forward and drives the bus off the cliff with the driver on board. Macy says that the driver was never heard from again, though through the flashback we see that he survived. And she also says that the school bus was never found. So Macy says the whole point in them being here is they're going to leave 8 jack-o'-lanterns by the quarry as a gift to the 8 victims. So 3 of them go and do that, and then Chip and Rhonda are left behind waiting. And as the 2 of them get down to the quarry, they start to hear screaming. When Rhonda goes to investigate, she is attacked by these zombie-like creatures. So she makes a run for it. She passes Chip's body, which is being eaten. Rhonda falls and gets hurt and starts crying, at which point it's revealed that this is just a prank. They just are fucking with her. So Schrader is comforting her. Macy is super annoyed and is like, fine, I guess we're leaving. And she kicks the one remaining lit jack-o'-lantern into the lake. Big mistake, because as she does this, the zombie version of the kids rise from the lake and attack them. So the group runs back to the elevator that brought them down to the lake, and Rhonda is in it and has it locked. They look at her and scream for help and beg her to let them on, and she just presses up and fucking leaves them to be killed. As Rhonda's walking away, we hear the screams below, and she looks up and sees Sam. The 2 of them kind of give each other a nod, and he lets her live because she fucking respects Halloween. The next segment is about this group of women in their 20s, and they're getting ready to go to a party. They're getting their costumes together. They're looking for dates. Lori is kind of the center of this because they're trying to get her to put herself out there. They make comments about how she's a virgin, and she just seems to not give a fuck and not want anything to do with this. So eventually the 3 of them find dates and head to the party, and Lori's like, okay, I'm going to stay behind and find somebody to come with me. As she's left behind in the town, she encounters this hooded man, and we had seen this man earlier kill a woman in an alleyway, but we don't know who he is. So this hooded man comes out of the woods and attacks Lori as she's on the way to the party. And we cut to the party, which is this like bonfire in the middle of the woods, and we see this figure wearing this red cloak drop out of the tree, so we assume that it's Lori. But when the girls at the party go to turn the body over, they see that it's the vampire. And he reveals himself to be Stephen Wilkins. So all the girls laugh at him as he lays there terrified with his legs broken. And as he looks around, he starts to see the dead bodies of the other men that they brought there as their dates. And all of a sudden, all of the women at this party start to shed their skin and reveal that they are all fucking werewolves. So Lori gets on top of Steve and tells him it's my first time and transforms into a werewolf and devours him. And we see Sam sitting on a log nearby watching the chaos. And then we get to our final segment, which revolves around Mr. Krieg, who was the neighbor we met earlier. We see that he is just a very miserable old man. Anytime trick-or-treaters come to his door, he scares them off. But then weird shit starts to happen in his house, and at one point he goes out front to see all of these jack-o'-lanterns in his front yard. He starts to hear footsteps upstairs and goes to investigate, and he finds a lit jack-o'-lantern and all of these Halloween greetings written on the wall, and that's where he encounters Sam. A struggle ensues between the two of them, and Krieg manages to unmask Sam, and it's revealed that he looks like this. During the struggle, Mr. Krieg bangs on his window for help, which is what we had seen earlier. Krieg manages to shoot Sam multiple times and thinks that he's killed him, but Sam comes back to life and attacks Krieg again and tries to stab him with his half-bitten lollipop, but instead he stabs a candy bar that had fallen on his lap. And because of this, Krieg has technically complied with the tradition of handing out Halloween candy, which he was refusing to do before. So that satisfies Sam, who walks away eating the candy bar. We then zoom in on Krieg's fireplace where we had seen him burning some photos earlier, and it's revealed that Krieg was the school bus driver. And we see pictures of him with all the kids burning. But it doesn't end there for Mr. Krieg. So he's all bandaged up and he goes to his front porch. And he looks out and sees some of the other characters whose stories have already unfolded. So he sees Rhonda pulling a wagon with jack-o'-lanterns. He sees Billy sitting on his front porch. He sees Lori and her friends driving by laughing. And he sees Emma and Henry coming home because they live across the street. And he sees Sam watching Emma putting her jack-o'-lantern out early. So he was the one watching from the tree lines, and of course he was the one that killed Emma. So Krieg goes back inside, but he gets a knock on his door. And when he answers it, he comes face to face with the undead kids of the school bus massacre, which of course we now know he was involved in. So they've come to seek their revenge, and we see them closing in on him as he screams and the movie ends.